So here we go. What we got is, just wet this out, get that off there. We don't want too much water on it because it'll just blow it right off. So what we do before we throw the clay down is give it a little drying. Next up, what we want to do is grab these pre-measured 3-pound balls that I have here. And okay, so we got 3 pounds. Not sure what I'm gonna make right now. Really never do when I start, but I'm gonna go with something. Probably gonna make a tall cylinder. Okay, it's kind of big. Get this. Try to get this centered. Right now I'm pushing down right here to seal it so no water goes up underneath it. All right. I'm going to come into a kind of volcano. This clay is kind of wet. It's easy to work with in the sense of centering, but when you're trying to make a bowl, it's a little wet to hang out there. Little rotation on the bottom is not a good thing to happen, so I always like to trim this down here. Okay, now we got a volcano, so I'm gonna go back down and then speed up the wheel a little bit here. Let's take it back up. I can feel a little bumping going on. As I'm bringing it up, I'm looking right here at this, if there's a wobble or one's higher than the other, I'll do another one until I get that out of there. Now I'm going to come back down and basically it's centered. With my thumbprint, curve of my thumb makes a perfect indentation here. Now I can go down here and open, drill a hole. Centrifugal force is going to make my finger go down straight, though I like to make sure that I come at a little bit of an angle so I can see what I'm doing. Now here's where muscle memory comes in. There's nothing you can do about this. How high am I off the bottom? Got to think about it. But I'll open it up a little bit. That's what you should do when you're beginning. Do a little compression. I mean, just go back and forth a little bit in there. Make sure it's wet, you're not pulling on anything. Don't push down very hard, very lightly. I mean, just like a little bit. Now that I have that down there, I can take my pin tool, hit it at the bottom, go to the top of the bottom of the clay, and then see what I have there. So that's how thick my bottom is right now, which is, it's a little thick, but as I compress it down a little bit, it'll be okay. Wouldn't want to go any lower than that because then I couldn't trim the bottom. So what I'm going to do is just do a little bit, seal up that hole, open it up, and then come back and just, what I'm doing is going back and forth, trying to level that bottom out. And that'll prevent any S cracks, which will happen if you don't do that. Now, I have that finger and I'm just going to pull towards me, trying to make sure, I'm looking down in there, trying to make sure that I'm not going up, and I'm not going down, I'm just going straight. Now I'm going to do again on the bottom. And then, trying to make sure that I have about a 90-degree angle here. Inside, straight down, because what you'll tend to do is want to come up like this at an angle, but you want to go straight. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to take my sponge, I'm going to drip it on my hand, which is going to come onto the side of the pot and make that wet. If I do anything in here like this, I got to take that water out. I don't want that water sitting in there. Never have any water sitting in here. Always take it out. But now it's all slippery there. Good. My fingers down here, and I'm going to start my first pull. I'm going to go slow because this clay is kind of wet, and I haven't thrown in 6 or 7 years. I mean, I've thrown yesterday and today, but basically not. I have this nice bucket of warm water here. Yeah. And it's right here for me. I mean, I could come across here, it's fine. This one just doesn't have enough oomph for me. I've got this big sponge in here that I clean my hands off with. So I'm gonna take another one. I always have to be touching my fingers together to understand where I'm at. If I try to do this, I'll never know where I'm at. But just right there, and you can tell how thick your pot is, or how thick your wall is. We come up under that. Another pull. We're going a little fast, so I'm gonna start slowing it down, but I really don't want to do it in the middle of a pull. So once I get here to this top, you can see a little bit on the uneven side, so I'm gonna hold it and press down. So it's this move right here. Keep it closed, and then just press a little compression on that top of that lid, so that we're not up or down. If we had an imbalance here, I'd want to fix that. But basically on this top pull, you want to go back here and compress it. Again, take the sponge, put it on my hand, let it dribble down the inside. It's fine as long as I come back in there and get that out. That'll create S-cracks right there, because that water will suck right up. Like this clay is like a sponge. I'm going to close this up a little bit by using my 3 points. 1, 2, and 3. And you can see I could do it like this. As long as I have 3 points, come in, and you can see that angle right there, how I close that up. Because you're going to tend to always want to pull out, and then you're going to make stuck having a bowl. You wind up making lots of bowls because you wind up either leaning back. Once you get it coming out here, it's hard to fix. We're still really thick, so we're going to do another pull here. It's hard for me to talk and think at the same time. So I'm using the left side of my brain, or the right side of my brain, whatever one it is, the hemispheres that's controlling that creative process. Great book, Drawing on the Right Side of Your Brain. It explains how all that works and why it's hard to talk when you're doing art or being creative in any way. Dance, music. Okay, get in there, get that bottom out, slow this wheel down. The wheel's going way too fast. Okay, I got a little lip here that I don't like, so I'm just going to take it off. In this, it's just straight down. Don't let it fight you at all. Just go. Once you're committed, go. Once you hit the bottom, you hear it. You know you're there. I like to pull it out a little bit. I'm not as brave as some people. I like to have this little gap here before I come in here and do that. I hate to ruin a pot for just that little thing. Okay, let's do another pull. Probably a good ½ inch right now. Do that triple, make sure that I'm closed up a little bit there. And we're going for it. I'm going to use this sponge because my fingers are getting tired. Sponge is a little harder. Can't get up there to touch my hand yet, but there's a distance in that sponge that you got to kind of figure out what's happening. All right, there we go. Now I got it. Now I'm solid and I can come up. But the sponge keeps it lubricated. If it dragged at all, it would twist this whole pot and that would be the end of it. As you can see, it's almost going. Oh no! No, Mr. Bill, don't do that. Okay, compression on the top. Okay. And I'm just going to take a wet sponge and hit that in there. Come up here. A lot of people like to use slurry. on that, but I don't know. Sometimes slurry just creates more problems than it's worth. Good job there. We've got the, yeah, it's a little tough to figure out right now how thick I am, because I can't, these are always the hardest part. Once your cylinder gets taller, then you can actually join your hands together like that, anywhere, doesn't matter where. Boy, as soon as you get that hand together, you can tell the thickness. Yeah, I don't want to go too thin. Don't want to collapse this pot right now. Press down. Okay. Now, make sure there's no water at that bottom. Nothing worse than your pot drying after you do all this work, find out that you had an S-crack, that you got an S-crack, whether it's because you didn't do the compression or whether you left water down in there. So I think I want to it would be really cool to have two types of sensors, one on this finger and one on that finger. When you go in there, it tells you exactly how thick your piece is, because then you can decide whether you want to flare it open, which is where I'm kind of leaning right now. But I can tell you that this base on the bottom is, if I come out, I won't be able to do this later, so let's just try to do it now. I'm going to do is flare this out at the bottom with the sponge. You watch over here, or you'll see the profile more than I can see it, really. And I'm on that bottom, pushing out. You can see there I go. Bit up, slow down, slow down. I'm thinking about not letting my hand do what it just did. It was a little wet, dry, so it started sticking. But see, ouch. Okay, don't want it to get up there like I just did. So I'm concentrating on not touching anything on the side of the pot there at the same time, trying to open this up. Without it collapsing. Okay, that looks kind of cool right there. But what I'd like to do is pull this closer here. What do you think? Would that make a nice picture? A nice lemonade picture or something? Maybe. We'd have to put a handle on it. I gotta watch this angle here, because that if I go too much, this whole piece is gonna want to go down. Can't do it. Can't do it. Now, a good thing to do right now is to try to get some of this slurry up off of here. As you can see, as I use this tool, you can see the slurry. Okay? So get that slurry out of there. That slurry has a lot of water in it, and that's just going to make this pot absorb that water as we're still trying to work with it. Okay, it gets rid of a good chunk of it. Now if I really wanted to do what I said and make this more of an angle here, because I need this angle so it doesn't go down and fall in there. What I've done, get my hands dry here, get my foot off this paddle, maybe it'll stop going. So I've used this little torch, which is kind of cool. It's for cake decorating or something, you know. And then I could dry it right here where I want to make that curve. Make this clay a little bit more stiff, get that water out of there. Obviously, when I can see the water dry up there, I know it's getting warm. I always want to move the flame because I don't want to get in one spot and create a problem. The other thing I'm going to have a problem with is it's going to be a little bit on the hot side, so I'm going to have to let it cool down for a second or two, not get in there. Here's where I'm interested in, right about here, because I want to make that a better angle than it is right now. And I'm going to say that probably that's going to be enough right there. And I can feel the heat, so I'll just give it a second as it cools down. It's not going to give me a lot of time. The minute I put water on there, it's going to absorb it right again. And I think if I put my fingers on here, not too bad. But I have to put water on there to make it slippery, so I'm just going to come over here to the side, drip it on my hand. Ooh, it's warm. And then try to get in there at that better angle. Oh yeah, it's warm. You might want to let it cool down a little bit more, but okay. Okay. That gave me a little bit better of an angle. I guess I could use this to make sure that I'm at about 90. Whenever you go in, always release slow. You'll be okay. And if I take, this is an invaluable little piece of leather right here, because it forms this lip. So what I'm going to do is go through here and just grab it and hold it very gently while it makes that lip nice. Okay, that should look good from your point of view. Go with a little bit more water, I guess, because I want to do one more. Guess I decided not to make a picture. Maybe next time we'll do it, but I'm just gonna make a little vase right now. And clean that off the bottom. Since I put water back on there, always make sure that that is clean when you do this. You could bend it to try to form the best you can. We don't want to flatten this out at all. basically just trying to get the water off there so when it dries that we're not going to distort it at all. And I think we're kind of good right there. You know, sometimes more is better or less is better, and that's where we're at right now. So what I'm going to do, because we throw in the bat, shut it off, and just run this wire tool, press on the bottom, and pull towards me. That created a cut that will let this pot release a little bit later when it's a leather hard. Okay, now I'm going to come up here and take it off the bat. And there you go. That's what you got. Okay.